Hello everyone, welcome back to Ayumilove channel for another Awaken Crosshair content. In today's video, I'll be going over the new revamped epic hero who is Vance. So let's check out his skills together. So this is Vance. I have him already 6 star and level 60 and also got him to Ascension 2 to unlock his second Ascension here, the Seam Breaker. So let's quickly go over his stats. So he has an A rating for attack, A rating for speed and A rating for critical rate. So basically, he's pretty fast and he has a C rating for defense. So probably he's pretty squishy and a B rating for health. So probably you want to pair him with a hero that can provide him with some survivability such as like Yolanda to provide a shield or the guard buff, or perhaps to pair him with like Hackgreen to boost up his defense stats, as well as with Mitasia to heal him whenever he attacks. Alright, so let's dive in on the traits and skills. So the first trait will be his Seam Breaker grants 1 rage per positive effect applied to a non-boss enemy, as well as a bonus turn upon reaching 5 rage. He's not so useful in the boss dungeon because each time the boss places buff on themselves, such as like Queen of Tides, who gains buff through the Blessing of the Empress, you will not gain 1 rage from this Seam Breaker trait here. So he's not a very good candidate for dungeon farming based from his trait here. And let's see. Alright, so once you ascended him to the second ascension, all of his attacks will ignore positive effects on the target, which means that if let's say if the enemy has like defensive buff on themselves, such as like increased max health arm or defense up buff or shield, basically his attack can bypass those things, which makes him a powerful hero against enemies who relies heavily on buff for survivability here. Next would be his basic ability, Sign of the Cross. Deals 120% damage to an enemy plus a bonus attack with Inquisition if the target is affected by more than 2 positive effects. Basically, I think the skill description here is worded incorrectly. It should be if the target is affected by 2 or more positive effects, because I've already tested this basic ability. Whenever the enemy has at least 2 buff, this attack will trigger this Inquisition. However, if the enemy has a special unique buff that has the golden frame around it, it is not considered as a positive effect. So just bear that in mind. And this is his Inquisition. There's this mini icon here. Deals 120% damage to an enemy and duplicates all of the positive effects onto this character. So basically, this one deals the same damage as the Sign of Cross, just that this one allows your hero to copy all of the positive effects to this character. It does not need a focus stat to copy them. Alright, so the next one will be his Blade Master's Blessing, which is his passive ability, which restores 16% of his max health that scales with the rage and grants undying upon taking massive damage. Can be triggered only once per 3 rounds. So yeah, this one. So if you're going against enemy which applies a lot of buff, right, to themselves, such as like Brand, Winstrax, and Hackgreen, right, this one will allow him to gain rage quickly and gain a bonus turn, which easily allows you to refresh the skill cooldown for this passive ability in case he already takes some fatal damage. This will heal him, and this trait will synergize with this passive skill to quickly refresh it up. So in order to benefit from this trait fully, you need to take down all of the enemies hero and leave out the support heroes that are placing the buff on themselves. So you can always benefit from this trait. And finally, for his ultimate ability, Demon Sword Devour, which has a 4 turns cooldown, deals 200% damage to an enemy. Damage increases by 30% for every positive effect on the enemy. So let's say assuming the enemy has 3 positive effects on themselves, this means that 3 times 30% would be 90% damage on top of this 200% base damage. So it's recommended to use this Demon Sword Devour when the enemy has a lot of positive effect on themselves. So what I usually do is I use this Sign of Cross to slowly take down their health while the enemy keep on buffing themselves. And finally I use this Demon Sword Devour to one-shot the enemy there. Right, for the gears, I equip him in a guard set and raider set. So guard set will help him to have some shield to protect his health because he have a very low defense stats, and raider set is to boost up his speed. So let's quickly go through the equipments that I have for him. So this is the weapon with speed, attack, defense, and critical damage. Ideally, you want to focus on three group stats that all attackers must have, which is attack, attack percentage, critical rate percentage, and critical damage. And the optional one will be precision if you're using Vance in Arena against enemies who are a different affinity, such as like fire affinity. Because fire affinity have a higher chance to deflect, and having precision will help alleviate that. And you can have some speed to go before the enemies. So this is the helmet with some critical damage, precision, and critical rate. This is the chest plate with some attack, critical damage, and precision. And this is the boots with some defense, focus, critical damage, and critical rate. Ideally, this one would be something else, maybe resistance, because he doesn't apply any debuff, so focus is not useful for him. And this is a critical ring with some speed, attack, resistance. And finally, this is a attack necklace with some critical and critical damage and flat stats defense. Alright, so his glyphs and abilities are all maxed out, so that I can showcase him in his full potential of his skills. Alright, so I'll be testing Vance in a couple of areas, and the best one would be the arena, since most of his skills, right, are damage dealing. He just deal damage and just duplicate damage, duplicate the buff on himself. So ideally you want to use Vance against heroes who uses a lot of buff. So let me show Vance in Arena. Right, so now I'm in the Arena Platinum 2. So I'll use Vance against the first Arena defense team, which primarily defensive heroes, Brand, Happy, Mutation, and Yolanda. So I'll be using Yolanda to protect Vance and have at least another attacker hero with Garo, so he can attack enemy heroes who is weak at, which is the fire affinity. And then I'll have one healer hero with Hassle. Alright, so now we have around about... Alright, so the enemies are pretty slow. So what I'll do is I'll use the Water Prison on Bran to prevent him from applying his attack down whenever I attack his allies here. So let me take down Hackqueen here. So as you notice, right, Vance will gain a bonus attack when he attacks an enemy or the target that has 2 buffs. So Hackqueen currently has 2 buffs on himself, which is the guard buff from the enemy's Yolanda and the shield buff from enemy's Brand. So let me try to deal some damage to the Mitasia here. Let's apply the defense down. Alright, so let's do some more damage here. Alright, so let's nuke down the Hackqueen here. Alright, we are now to provide a bonus turn to Vance. So when the enemy revive her allies who was slain by my hero, their Mitasia's revive ability has an additional 2 more cooldown turn here. So instead of 4 turns, it'll be around 6 turns. Alright, so let's take down the Mitasia now. Okay, let's do a couple more times here. Alright, so let's one-shot the Mitasia here. Alright, let's steal the Queen's buff here. Right, let's keep on knocking down the Hackgreen here. Okay, let's do some basher. So Vance was able to steal the Shield of Mercy from Yolanda as well. Alright, give him additional turn. One shot at Yolanda here. And this one will bypass the Shield of Mercy. So now we can put this on auto now. So that's how you use Vance against defensive team that relies heavily on buff. So the more buff they have, the more damage that Vance can do here. Alright, the enemy is down. So let's try out another arena defense team. Alright, so let's move on to the next enemy defense team. And this time there's a Blackhorn. Let's try the third one. Blackhorn, Hackgreen, Brand, and a damage dealer here. Brand the Brilliant. So basically I just use the same team. Alright, as usual I'll use the Water Prison on Brand to prevent him from placing the attack down. Let's take down this Brand the Brilliant. Alright, now the enemies have 2 buff. Let me steal the Shield Mercy from the Blackhorn. Yolanda immune buff is quite useful here to prevent Brand from applying the attack down to my Vance here. Alright, so let's one-shot the Blackhorn here. Alright, so let's steal the immune buff from Brand the Brilliant. Now the Brand the Brilliant has this block damage buff on himself already, as you notice here. It prevents the Brand from taking any more damage. So let's grant an additional bonus turn to Vance. Let's bypass Brand the Brilliant block damage buff here. And let's one-shot the Brand the Brilliant here. So now the enemy doesn't have any threat, so now I can use the shield from Yolanda to protect my heroes here. So now let's take down the Hackgreen. And I can also take or steal the or duplicate their, what's that called, the continuous heal. And let's use Hassle to heal my heroes here. The healing is pretty low. Alright. So let's take down their Brand now. Alright, the enemy is down. So let's check out the battle report here. Alright. So that still deals quite a high amount of damage, followed by Garo here. And their Brand the Brilliant also deals quite a high amount of damage because Brand the Brilliant is also buff as well. So the damage taken and the healing dealt. So let's test out Vance against Arena Defense Team, which is like a Speed Nuke Team like this one. There's a Wind Strikes and 3 AoE attacker heroes here. So for this, I will use at least a hero to revive in case my hero gets killed. And as well as a defensive hero here, who is Jonathan, because he is able to place shield buff whenever he receives AoE attack. So when the enemy Wind Strikes buff themselves, this provides a bonus turn to Vance. And we can use this opportunity to stun their attacker hero, which is like, who's this? Evera. And then we'll try to steal those buff from, copy those buff from Natalia here. And the reason why I target Natalia here is because she is one of the squishiest hero, plus her attacks does not triggers Jonathan's AoE shield. So that's the reason why I take down Natalia first. And next we can take down either the second attacker hero here, who is Hydrisia or Evera. So I'll just take down the Wind Strike first. And then apply this Spiral Slash from Jonathan, which applies the attack down and defense down, so they will deal less damage. Let's provide a bonus turn to Vance to deal more attack. Let's leave that. I'll just reserve Mitija's special ability in case for emergency use. So let's take down the Hydrisia here. And ultimate. Alright, so that was an easy win as well. So if you own Vance, right, you can easily use him in all these scenarios against defensive team, fully defensive team, mid defensive team, as well as full AoE Speed Nuke Team. So for the first one would be the Arcane Dominator, Roaring Tulpa. So let's see how well Vance performed here. Alright, so these are the 4 heroes that I'll be using to clear the Roaring Tulpa stage 12 to showcase Vance's abilities here. So I have 2 primary damage dealers here, who is Vance and Aura, supported by Thomas to apply the defense down and also crowd control the enemies with his stun. And finally, Kono is here to heal up my heroes. And on top of that, he'll be applying the attack up buff to boost up my heroes' attack and damage output. So since Vance, right, abilities are mostly single target, so he's not able to speed farm or clear the first wave quickly compared to like compared to what's that called? Zlux, because Zlux will be able to kill multiple minions here whenever he performs a clean kill with his ultimate ability. Alright, so we are moving now to the boss wave. And the target priority here would be to just target the boss. So Corner Shield is quite useful here to mitigate some of the AoE damage dealt by the boss here. Since the heroes I have here are 3 fire affinity heroes and only 1 wood affinity hero, that's why the enemies are targeting Vance here. because he's the neutral affinity here. Seems like Vance is not doing much damage here. So that's the Undying that procs whenever he receives a high amount of damage. So alright, finish off the boss with his ultimate ability there. That deals true damage. Did true damage. Oh, I think it deals based on the enemy's max health, similar to poison. It does not deal much damage against enemies that does not have buff on himself. If the enemy has less than 2 buff, he will not deal much damage since he will not be able to take advantage of the bonus attack on his basic ability to trigger the Inquisition skill. So most of the damage that will be aura, since his ultimate ability will be dealing damage based on the enemy's max health. Whereas for Thomas, he deals this much of damage because he is able to counter-attack whenever his allies is being attacked by the enemies. And last but not least, Connor is here, dealing the least amount of damage because he's mainly a support hero. And most of the damage is taken by Vance, and the healing that would be mostly through Connor. Alright, so since Vance's performance is quite poor in the Roaring Tulpa stage 12, I will not be covering the Helmut stage 2 or stage 14 here. Alright, so let's move on to the next Arcane Dominator dungeon, which is the Queen of Tides. And as we know, that Queen of Tides is able to apply buff on themselves. So let's test him out there. Alright, so for the Queen of Tides stage 12, I'll be using these 4 heroes. Zlux and Vance will be my main primary damage dealers. Jonathan is there to support the team with his unhealable and AoE shield, and finally Mitija is there for support healing. So let's see them how they work. Alright, so that is Vance in Queen of Tides. So basically he can deal a high amount of damage to enemies like here. However, the performance is... Although he can do a lot of damage, but basically his performance here, he's not a great candidate for speed farming. So that's the damage dealt by Vance, followed by Deluxe and Jonathan. These are the damage taken and the healing dealt. Alright, so that's the end of this showcase for Vance. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and learn a thing or two on how Vance performed in the Arcane Dominated dungeon, such as the Roaring Tulpa and Queen of Tides, and as well as the Arena. So basically he's not a speed farmer in those dungeons. However, he's very useful against like mob enemies that relies heavily on support buff. Like in Arena, you can use him to quickly take down their defensive heroes such as like Yolanda, Bran, Beanstrax, and you can utilize his bonus turn effectively. So once you gain the bonus turn in Arena, you can use this opportunity to stun their attacker hero to prevent them from further dealing maximum amount of damage to your team there. And if you enjoyed this content, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and do comment if you have any queries on Vance after seeing his performance here. And also, if you'd like to learn more about Awaken Chaos Era content, you can visit my website at ayumilove.net. And if you'd like to support me directly, you can be a contributor on patreon.com/ayumilove. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!